Welcome back to Comics Are Dope, the podcast. I'm your host, BJ Kicks, and as this episode goes live, it is Thursday, April 4th, my 10th wedding anniversary. I'm super excited, but that also means that I am not online. I decided to take some time off work, as well as time off of the channel and socials and whatnot. And my wife and I are living our best lives right now. So, as opposed to me pre-scheduling an interview and then not being able to promote that interview, I decided to present to you guys a conversation that I had with my good friend and homie BunkmastaB. Right back, his channel had hit 500 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken, and we were approaching 10,000 here at Comics Are Dope. And he wanted to do an interview just about my journey as a YouTuber, why I decided to rebrand and do Comics Are Dope, as opposed to continuing under my, screen name of BJ Kicks, and just some of the sort of ups and downs that come with a journey in comics YouTube or pseudo journalism or whatever we're calling this thing we're doing here. So a really fun conversation and an insightful one. But before I present that to you, as I'm recording this, we just recently got the news about cartoonist Ed Piskor, who passed away at the age of 41 in an apparent suicide. There had been some pretty serious accusations leveled against Ed Piskor in recent weeks. And, I think the allegations were sobering, to say the least. And I certainly think, he would have needed to answer for those, or at least, be able to defend himself. But I don't think in any world that stuff should have cost him his life. And it's had me thinking a lot just about sort of the nature of the internet, the responsibility that we have as users of the internet and just humans in general to treat people well. We don't know what anyone is going through at any given point in time. I don't know what, his alleged or potential victims must be feeling right now. I'm sure it's difficult, but I think this whole situation had been exacerbated by the fact that, there's hundreds of thousands of people ready and waiting with an internet connection to pile on in people's lowest moments. And, a lot of times we sort of look at all the things surrounding comics as, ironically, kayfabe. We're not aware of the real ramifications of our words and actions until something drastic happens. So out of this unfortunate situation, my prayer is that, we learn to love people, whether we agree with their viewpoints, whether we agree with their personality or lifestyle decisions or not. I think we've just got to do better. We've got to do better as just people. So I wanted to mention that to pay tribute to Ed Piskor, the artist. I only really interacted with his work through Hip Hop Family Tree. Ironically, he's influenced a lot by, underground comics and more sort of edgier style books that just honestly just don't sort of fit my wheelhouse. But the one intersection of our influences was his love for hip hop, and the Hip Hop Family Tree series is such an amazing book. So if that is the book that his legacy is sort of hung on, then that's an awesome thing to remember him by. Again, my thoughts and prayers are with his family as well as his alleged victims in this time. And if you guys are just feeling like, there's not a way out of whatever situation you've got going on, please just dial 988. There's always better options. I had to bring this up because we end this conversation, me and BunkmastaB, talking about our good friend Skipintosh, and among his many loves was the cartoonist kayfabe channel. And so it's not really a great way to transition out of this moment, but I do think there's just when I started this podcast or this channel, a big reason for it was because there had been so much vitriol spewing online, and I kind of wanted this place to serve as a bit of an oasis for people who didn't want to talk about whatever the tabloids have going on or whatever the latest gossip or speculation is, and who really just loved comics. And it's crazy because there's not too many people who I could think of that loved comics and cartooning the way Ed Piscor did. So RIP to Ed Piscor. We're thinking of you and your family. And let's have this conversation, Bunk.
What it do, comic babies? I'm BunkmastaB, and today we're having a conversation. Now, normally I have a conversation with myself and you, just you. But now we're opening it up a little bit. I'd like to keep the mystery going, but you saw the title. You see him on screen right now. You already know who it is. Today, I am honored to have my friend BJ Kicks of Comics Are Dope, formerly KDMR Music until he rebranded, and Kicks on Kicks. Between his 3 channels, the man has nearly, I believe at this point, is actually over 60,000 YouTube subscribers. He's got an affiliate link for every service under the planet. This man knows what's up on YouTube. Kicks, it's a pleasure. What up, baby?
Thank you. That's a great introduction. I did not counted subscribers, but that's cool, man.
Yeah. So you're just about to hit 10,000 on Comics Are Dope, formerly BJ Kicks.
Yes.
What are you now as KDMR Music Mastery?
What Master Music Marketing?
Master Music. Okay.
Just about at 40,000. We're at like 38 ish.
Is it? Okay. And then the Kicks on Kicks is like sometime.
Kicks on Kicks is almost at 5, I think. It's 4,000 something, but hey, whatever. It's not.
You've got as someone who struggles to keep up with a release strategy of one video a week on one channel, you literally make my brain hurt looking at what you're doing across the your multiple channels and everything that's going there. So recently, I hit I crossed 500 subs, which is a very small number.
Congrats. In YouTube. That's a milestone. Congrats.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. The grandiose number of 500, which is not necessarily it. But the way that I got there is I had my year-end video end up clearing 3,000, which was my first of that. And which was very atypical. Like normally my videos, they get a few hundred here and there. I get some comments, and like that's, like I'm very comfortable with that. Like I'm someone who not only is bad at YouTube, but I'm like purposely bad at YouTube. Like I make videos about a niche hobby, comic books, and then of that niche hobby, I purposely choose topics that no one is searching for, that there's no relevance whatsoever. And like I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing there.
Right.
But you're someone who has strived for success and has succeeded. And whatever metric you're looking for across your multiple ways, you are someone who knows YouTube. And the biggest thing is actually you have actually the whole time, I feel like you have been the most inside baseball of anybody on YouTube that I know. Every step along the way, you have been perfectly willing to pull back that curtain, to talk to new creators. And so that's what I kind of want to talk about today.
Okay.
I've been doing YouTube badly for about a year or so. You have been doing YouTube, again, across your 3 channels, 3 different subjects, real dang well for a while, different, lengths for each of them. And so I kind of wanted to get your take and just see about your different experience and kind of tell my people about YouTube.
Okay.
So Kicks, tell me everything there is about YouTube right now. Also, we are on a time budget, so I've only got about 60 seconds, but tell the people everything there is to know about YouTube.
All right. I'll give you cliff notes, right? YouTube is a place where people go for entertainment or education, right? Usually one or the other. but often a combination of both. It's a search engine, it's a social media platform, um, and it's a way, it's like a TV network or a cable company with millions of TV networks with different advertisers. It's a lot of different things kind of smushed into one platform. And your success on YouTube is going to depend on your ability to understand which piece you are in that machine and what job is required of you in that moment.
So that was a completely throwaway question. I did not have any intention that you were actually going to answer that seriously, but that was as beautiful an answer as I could get. So I appreciate you doing that. But to start things off here, I want to take this back to the beginning. I want to take it back to the pre-Comics Are Dope day.
Okay.
When you were BJ Kicks at that point. And I mean, this is the scrappy young channel that was going out. You had just picked up House of Power or House of X #1. And you were like, dang, this is cool. I wonder if I can make money off this just talking about things I want to talk about. And I want to talk about those early days where you weren't so much a channel at that point as you were a personality.
Yeah.
And, look back at that first video. There's an introduction video, and it's not so much to the BJ Kicks channel. It's, this is me. I'm going to be doing boxes. I'm going to be doing these different things. Your first overview is Animal Man Deluxe #1. Have you read that yet, first off?
I read an issue.
There it is.
Grant Morrison's Animal Man, still unread.
Keep that faith alive. But as someone who was with you back in those days, back then at that point, you were still, in the wrestling parlance, as our buddy Skip, rest in power, would say, you had the kayfabe going. In the unboxing videos, you would do a still from there where you would hold the stack of it and you had the silly Kicks face going, oh,
right.
You would be talking about Mystery Dave has done it again. Let's see what he's going. And over time, you've kind of pulled away from that. I would still say in your videos you're on, but I would say you're less of a character and just more you're on.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, even before we go into the full rebrand discussion, those early days and what you thought you needed to bring to YouTube?
Sure. So those early days is not so much me playing a character as much as it was me being genuinely excited about this new hobby I had found. So I guess maybe to understand it, right? Like, I would say now, I wouldn't have said it then, but making YouTube videos is a hobby and it's a fun one. It's something I enjoy. I was a YouTuber before I was a comic fan, and becoming a comic fan changed the way I sort of looked at YouTube, because prior to, YouTube was my primary side hustle, and I'm using it to fuel a business, an online education business. And so I'm teaching creative people how to sell their creations. In this, channel, it was music. And I started reading comics in 2019, but I don't start the BJ Kicks channel until November 2020. So I've been, reading stuff about a year and some change. But anyway, when I started the BJ Kicks channel, it was because I was bored isn't the word. I was just jaded with my main channel at the time. And so I just got tired of, for one, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and the trajectory of that old channel was I had written a book in 2019. I launched a book. Maybe it was 2018. Either way, I launched an ebook about music marketing and launched an online course. And in 2020, my big plan was to actually flesh out that book into something I could do like a hardcover release of and do like a huge launch in 2020. So I'd been working toward that big launch. And then the pandemic hit and the live music industry shut down, and honestly hasn't really come back. It's kind of been replaced with all these festivals, but that's a whole different conversation.
Really? What happened in 2020 that live music went away?
So, but no, the pandemic just shut down the world. And and so as the pandemic shut down the world, it felt really icky to get on YouTube like, hey, here's 5 ways to make money with your music, knowing that the conventional wisdom for independent musicians at the time was, hey, sell enough music in a local market to where you can play shows and you'll make most of your money on your booking fees and, merchandise and stuff like that. So if you wipe out all of that, then now I'm selling a product to musicians who likely won't make that money back quickly enough for it to make a good difference for them. So I was like, all right, I'll just put that on pause. And in the meantime, I will just start up a channel where I can just kind of let my hair down, so to speak, and just talk about whatever my hobbies are. And so I named the channel after myself. BJ Kicks is just an old screen name I've had forever. Um, but I named it after myself because it was just about me and my hobbies. And so I was knee deep in comics at the time, or maybe ankle deep, about to really dive in. But I was also like, I've been a musician, so I was getting back into beat making. And so the channel was supposed to be about both of those things. But what you ended up seeing on the channel was in real time, me sort of falling in love deeper with comics. And so I'm buying these hardcovers and doing these hauls and stuff like that. But um, the other impetus for me starting that channel was I found out we were pregnant October 2020. And then, I started the channel in November. And the goal was, hey, I've been setting aside this much money every month for comics. If I start a channel now, I can probably monetize it by the time the baby gets here so that diapers don't have to replace comics in the budget. Um, and so, yeah, that there was that goal. Um, and I was also just in love with community, right? I shop at Ultimate Comics Raleigh, and they were doing these live shows every week, which I was buying ridiculous amounts of things on this live show because stimulus checks. But they had a Facebook group at the live show, and I would find myself just like doing like, general marketing, community manager type stuff. So I'd go in like, hey, what are you reading this week? Oh, here's something I got last week. And I'm having all this discussion and I'm like generating all this engagement, but I feel like I am taking over someone else's group. Like they're here to sell books and I'm just here to talk about comics. And so all of that sort of was the perfect storm that was like, you know what? I should start a channel, grow my own community, and see if I can kind of carve out a space for myself in this hobby. But yeah, so those early days, it wasn't an act. It was me being super excited about comics. It never became an act, but it certainly became like a bit of performance, right? Over time, because it just did. I think after a while you find what's working and you're supposed to like double down. And I had done that.
And I don't want to make it seem like I'm accusing you of putting on an act. Like this is not going to be called BJ Kicks as a fraud, exposing Kicks one dark truth at a time.
Right.
That's where I was just talking about like a character. And again, that character isn't necessarily different from you.
Yeah.
But again, you walking out, going out, you're not going.
Right.
When you're looking at people, like it's
for sure.
Like anybody who's here, there's a performance aspect to it.
For sure. There's absolutely a performance to it. And that's just good YouTubing. But the shocked face thumbnails, the massive hauls, all the things, right? YouTube kind of thrives on sensationalism. And you can be a part of outrage culture. You can be like breaking news, or, you can just have a life that allows people to sort of live vicariously through you. And I was definitely the latter of those in the early days.
And yeah, so I want to go back here a little bit on something that you were said.
Okay.
You were on a roll on that one. I didn't want to take away from
it,
but no, you were. I wanted to, again. I'm here to listen to you, so like you're good, man. But I did want to push back on something a little bit. Okay. I am not into like I can't say I'm a music marketing genius by any means,
Hmm.
but I've been around. I've seen some things, and I'm pretty sure that the best way to market yourself in the music business is to go put your mixtape on a whole bunch of blank CDs, and then they'll stand on the corner and then shake people down who are walking by for $5 a pop after telling them it's free. Like I'm pretty sure that is a time honored tradition. And if you're not doing that, are you really a musician? So I
Yeah, nah.
mean,
Yeah. Nah, you
so
know what? I got like 300 videos on a whole channel that you can watch to get out of that mentality.
uh, again, if you're telling me that's not the way to do it, I don't know that I'm buying that ebook. I'm not putting money in that collection plate that's going by. Um, so you talked a little bit about community. And I
Hmm.
think honestly, that is both something that's really special to your channel and just sort of comics YouTube in general.
Hmm.
So you launch back in the day the K Squad,
Yeah.
and it starts off as a Facebook only thing.
Yep.
And these days, you can't find an upstart YouTube channel that doesn't have some type of social media community offshoot that's going on there.
Right.
Everybody seems to have some way to connect with that YouTube channel that's not just talk to me in the comments.
Hmm.
You were really one of the first people I remember that put it dedicated out there, that you put that space that was going on.
Hmm.
And I think, especially during the pandemic, one of the things that grew comics YouTube so much was this sense of isolation that everybody in the world felt, no matter
Yep.
what you were in.
Hmm.
Like, turns out when you can't go anywhere and you're stuck with the people in your house, and most people can't go to work,
Hmm.
you feel pretty isolated and cut away from things. And
Yep.
so that idea that people are creating a space where the things you like, you can go with other people,
Hmm.
like that was, I think, a huge thing that propelled the medium there. And again, I now it's commonplace, but the Case Squad was kind of the first of its kind that I remember seeing, where there
Hmm.
was this big push, and especially the fact that it was a free buy-in. You look at a
Hmm.
lot of places now, and it's like Discord access is premium level, or we're chatting all the time in our Patreon. But you were one of the first people I remember that was really pushing that, first on Facebook and
Hmm.
then later on Discord.
Hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how your dedicated community, sort of what that did for your videos, sort of both how your videos fueled that and then how that fueled your videos?
Sure. Yeah. So the K Squad was pretty early on. I guess for context, I told you I started the channel in November because we were pregnant. We found out in October. My daughter was born in March. She was born prematurely. And so a big part of this story is I sort of switched to being a daily content person. Um, I started actually a little bit before she was born, just as an experiment, but it sort of became like just my coping mechanism during that whole NICU journey. And so for like 3, 4 months, my goal was I want to put a video out at the same time every day. So I would do these premieres. And so in the premiere, we had the live chat and people could be like, oh, premiere squad, such and such. And it was just something fun where I could see the same, 3, 4 people, because it was never that many in the comments, but they're chatting it up like, oh, snap, that was cool or whatever. And it was just another layer of interaction. And there was a guy there. His name is Zachary, but he kept asking, like, hey, do you have a Facebook group? Like, you should do a Facebook group. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know what I would call it. But there's one day on a video in that little premiere chat where we're like workshopping the name. And so I'm like, okay, the K team. I don't know. I like squad. We'll do K squad. And it's like, all right, cool. Like for SEO, I would never have chosen the K squad because it has nothing to do with comics. Um, but it was born in the comments of like the YouTube premieres. And I don't know how it grew. I know that whole like weekdays at 11 o'clock was a thing. Um, but I think once people started joining, and again, because, I was already active in some online communities, like once they found out I had a community, it was like, all right, cool. So there were a bunch of people from the Ultimate Comics live show that had joined in, or people that were buying on the live show. They were the first people that joined the group. And then it grew from YouTube because I put it in the description of everything. Um, but what I will say is the community has been like the driving force of the channel from almost day one. And so there's definitely a bit of motivation that comes from like knowing there are specific people that are sort of waiting for, expecting a video from you. Um, and I guess now I still enjoy that conversation. You see, I'm active in the Discord. I'm not as active on Facebook only because Facebook doesn't allow you to sort of categorize the conversation or organize conversation in the groups, and they suppress a lot of stuff, so I don't even see it a lot of times. But yeah, that conversation is the reason I joined YouTube in the first place.
So how does then, so you talk about just sort of, the conversation that, first started in those ultimate live chats and then you sort of, took on your own. Where does that sort of community that you've built outside of YouTube, how does that show up back into YouTube? How do you take the energy and kind of what people are saying in your dedicated space outside of YouTube? And what does that do to the videos that you're putting out?
I mean, I don't know because it's not something I really think about consciously, right? Like I'm having a conversation. It's like this living, breathing thing. And I mean, like, for example, we have inside jokes and we talk to each other in the videos, right? And it's like no one else gets that hot dog emoji. But because we had the conversation, because it's come up more than once, now we just play with it, right? And I have things like that with a lot of the people in the community. Like I know if there's a G.I. Joe book coming out, my man Trey from Apex is gonna jump all over it, right? And because I know that, like it just comes up, and it's because my community I do view as like just sort of friends. Like I guess there's such thing as extended friends, like you have extended family, right? That's how I view it. And so the energy from the community, because I naturally just kind of like I'm an introvert, but I do enjoy people, just not like in my space. So so being in community allows me to like sort of display extroverted tendencies and show that I care about people and what they're saying and stuff. And so I like throwing those Easter eggs into the content. And it just becomes, just feeds each other.
By the way, speaking of that hot dog emoji, I don't know if you actually watched my con video, but at the very, very end of it, I did throw you a little shout out right there.
No, I saw.
That's
why I commented with the emoji.
See, I would have been perfectly acceptable if you had just clicked on it and been like hot dog emoji. I'm not actually going to watch it. I don't got time to watch YouTube, and just like had that going. Like, either way, I would have been fine with that. But I was like, I got to get this going. In fact, actually, I gave you a call out. I want to say it was on my 10 grand video. And in that, I was like, this is not a Kicks book. Click away. One of them.
And
on
I
that.
clicked away.
and I had like some people in the comments being like, I'm so confused. What's a Kicks book? What's a Kicks? Why should a Kicks click away? And it was just like, nice. I'm big enough that like I'm attracting people that had no idea what a Kicks is. Like I have some degree of made it when I'm not just poaching your fans and just being like, hey, some of you come over here. I got some candy over here.
Right. That's how I feel anytime I join Omar's live chat and people are like, who is that guy?
Well, see, that's where I have super like, Pied Piper syndrome, because again, like I started like as just the mod on YouTube and then the mod on Discord. And then it was just like, I also occasionally made videos. In fact, literally, it's funny. My channel exists because of JP. So you actually, you probably remember this because you did a video years ago when Organic Price Books which, by the way, if you are looking to shop for any collected graphic novels, you can use the code BJKicks at checkout for 1 to 3 books and save $2 off your order. Or if you're buying 4 books or more, you can use the code BJKicks, ship it together, save 5% off your whole order. Check it out now. But
pretty good ad read.
Hey, yeah, it's what I do. But JP was having a contest where it was make your own ad for organic price books, and the winner gets $500 of OPB credit. And I've never made a video in my life at this point, but I've got a background in voiceover, in just voice work, and I'm like, it's probably not enough. I don't know what I'm doing. And then like a week goes by, and he puts an update, and he's like, there's about a week left. Just a heads up, we've gotten very few submissions to this, so you got a real good shot of winning it. And I'm like, well, shoot, man, like I can do a night of work in the and just like basically just like rest off my voice and maybe win $500 for something.
Right.
So I tried, and it didn't happen, but it was still like, it was fun. Like, again, I haven't worked in voiceover since I was on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But I do that.
Say, the guy that won Off My Shelves absolutely deserved it.
Oh, 100%. That was a great one.
It was great.
Yeah, he orders from not in stock trades, but it's in stock trades, and it's in stock, and then he like grows the whole beard, and he like becomes a skeleton, and then he finally gets it, and it like punches him in the face, and it's like, we hate you, and then he orders from Organic Price Books and gives him a hug. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And then the coolest part too is he's actually overseas, so like he doesn't have the normal opportunity to order from Organic Price Books, but with that, like it's able to eat up those exorbitant shipping costs. So yeah. Absolutely. Shout out to Off My Shelves. If you're watching, you're a real one. But so like that's where I like dip my foot in. And then you talked about those Ultimate Comics live shows where you were kind of wilding out on those. That was me on the Organic Price Books Whatnot streams, where I was going a little crazy back in the day, and one of them, I don't even know how much it was, but it was like more than a 50-pound shipment of books. It was some ridiculous amount, and they were all like super discounted, so it like felt good. And like JP literally sent me a DM and was like, I'm going to need you to film an unboxing on this. I got to beat IST. And so I was like, well, shoot, I just like made this other video. I could do this. And so like, started doing that, just kind of getting the Hobbit. And then like, I kind of got out of it. And then Omar, for his year-end video, because I was one of the moderators, he's like, hey man, you make comic videos, right? And I was like, I guess you could say that. And he was like, yeah, you want to be part of the year-end? And I was like, well, shoot, I guess so. And then all along the way too, you were actually a part of what pushed that too, because I was writing for comicsaredope.com at that point. And my first article that I did, I got the author like retweeted and was super cool with that. So yeah, like actually, you're part of my YouTube origin story, and I'm so sorry for that, man. Like I'm sorry, awesome, I'm part of that legacy.
Man. Proud of you.
But speaking of Comics Are Dope, which, by the way, I'm using a different camera. I had to change my setup because it didn't work, so you guys can't normally see. But this whole time, I've been repping Comics Are Dope right here. I want to talk to you a little bit about the rebrand that you went through. So, you kind of publicly fell out of love with YouTube, and you were feeling like you needed a little bit of a change, which, after any amount of time doing daily videos, I get. And, you were off that daily schedule, but you were still on that grind to a certain extent. And, you kind of felt like you lost your little way a little bit, and you pivoted.
Yeah.
You changed the brand. And what I want to know is like, in a situation where your brand at that point is your name, BJ Kicks.
Yeah.
And you, at that point, like people have been looking to you. Like I remember back in the day, you were going on YouTube shows and people were like, how do I grow like BJ Kicks? Like you had done some things, you had sponsors, you had like people backing that name.
Yeah.
what is it like for you making that decision, even with the burnout that you were feeling, to say, I'm going to come off of that brand recognition. I'm going to step away. I'm still BJ Kicks, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to be BJ Kicks anymore on YouTube. Like, what does that feel like? And how do you come to that decision?
Um, I mean, trying to put myself back in that time period. I rebranded January of 23. There were a lot of things that happened behind the scenes that sort of led up to that. Um, so I started off 2022 with a sponsorship from a local comic shop. And at the same time, and I get all right, we'll just do super inside baseball, right? So YouTube doesn't pay a lot. Comics YouTube especially doesn't pay a lot. And the way I was funding my YouTube channel was basically just with the spoils from my other YouTube channels. So it was like, all right, as long as I break even, I don't mind. I'll make that sacrifice because I was disenchanted with the music channel. And so the idea was, well, if I can make the comic channel bring in as much income as the music channel, then I'll just stop making music marketing videos. And I'll just go all in on comics or whatever. But the economics just don't quite work that way. Like comics YouTube is just such a small pie. Um, and so 2022 was me kind of slowly realizing this isn't sustainable in the way that I had envisioned it being. I can put a video out on Comics Are Dope every day or BJ Kicks every day, and I'm still going to make like a third of what I'm making elsewhere. So, but I was lucky in that from almost the beginning, I've had sponsors on the channel that became Comics Are Dope. Um, my first sponsor, I hadn't even hit 1,000 subscribers yet when Mystery Dave reached out, and
Got
I
to pull
guess
that lucky ducky.
yeah, no, I one advantage I had earlier on was that I, no offense, I was on YouTube at a time where like everybody had webcam setups and I was using my DSLR, right? So my video quality was, it stood out. And because I was like 500 YouTube videos in at the time, I had a more polished presence on camera, even though I was a, quote unquote newcomer. And so I think that helped as far as securing sponsorships or having people feel comfortable saying, hey, can you like hold up our banner and, we'll either send you free product or give you a little bit of money. Um, and that's where the daily content came from because Mystery Dave was like, hey, I'm going to need a video every week as part of this deal. And so I can't remember if I did like 1 or 2 videos a week for them, but it was like, well, if I have this one video for Mystery Dave and I have the pull list video, that only leaves me with one other video about like unboxing or anything else I wanted to do. And so, because that was initially my goal was 3 videos a week. But once I got a sponsor, I was like, okay, well, I might as well do as many as I can. So anyway, the economics of having the sponsors didn't make sense, or the one sponsorship I had to start 2022, it just fell through. It didn't expand in the way that we thought it would. Um, so I'm already dealing with, all right, that's an actual recurring revenue stream that's out. Um, and then at the same time, the economy had started to finally put the squeeze on my other business, like marketing for small businesses. There was just less money going around. And what I was faced with was, well, if my brand is unboxing and I don't have money to buy things, then I can't unbox things. And so then it was like, all right, well, I'll unbox what I can or whatever it was. And I was basically kind of running the channel on whatever affiliate revenue I could make from places without any sort of like guarantee of a monthly income. And so that was stressful financially, it just emotionally stressful. But at the same time, I was like, I don't just want to be an unboxing guy anyway. And so it was kind of two birds with one stone. Like I wanted to because when I was looking at the channel, like I didn't like enjoy my videos. I didn't feel like they had a lot of replay value. Um, and I wanted to be able to be a resource on YouTube. I didn't want to be like full education, but I wanted to make content that you can watch over and over again or come back to or discover if you're a newcomer or whatever it is. So, yeah, that decision, it wasn't a hard decision to change because I felt the change coming for like a year. But for me, the decision to rebrand while also changing the content, that was just so that I stuck to it. Like it was me committing to the change. Because if I felt like as long as I kept the name, I could bring back the personality at any time and it wouldn't be off brand. And I kind of wanted to just bury the personality.
All right. All right. I feel that. So there's a lot to touch on right there. But the first thing that I guess I want to look at is, you talked about sort of the then and now of it, the sort of what your goals were then, as far as sort of income replacement. I know, you talked pretty openly, quite a bit about how you looked and you had hoped, at some point that you could, use the channel to kind of be an income replacement for your full-time job. And like, there was a growth mindset that has to come with that. Like if you are looking for something to do there, like, you can't take an approach like I do, where it's like, I'll maybe put a video up every week and maybe, 100 people will look at it. It's like, you got to have those sponsorship. You got to have those things going out. So looking back to something like that, and I want to sort of bring this back to a recent endeavor that you did.
Okay.
So like you said, you started with 3 a week, and then you expanded to one video a week, and you did that partly as kind of a coping mechanism. You had different sort of life obligations that you're going at the time. Squeaks in the NICU. You're doing your trips back and forth, but it's a way to unwind from the stress that's going on there.
Right.
Flash forward to December of last year, and you do the 24 days of Kicksmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll notice it's not 25 days of Kicksmas, because I'm still holding you to the fact that we were promised a double ship video on one of the days to make up for the day that you missed. Never got it.
You didn't get it.
Never got it.
Because I was actually 2 videos short. That sock unboxing was supposed to be the one video just in case I missed a day. And I actually missed 2 in my recording.
You still put up content. It still counts. It doesn't matter what. You're on the 25th day. It was like 3 minutes of you saying Merry Christmas from Kicks to you. So like,
because I got sick Christmas Eve. Like you can see it all in that video, but not anyway. So yeah, daily content then versus daily content in December reminded me of how unsustainable daily content is and how I sort of fell into the trap before. For those that can do daily content and have it be valuable content, like someone like Omar, right, from Near Mint Condition, is someone that I would consider in that category, right? Makes videos every day or nearly every day, but every video is a video like worth watching at least twice, right? But for me, I never got to a schedule where it was like I'm batching content, right? I think that's the best way to do it. Like sit down for a couple of weeks, record your 7, 8 videos, make them as highly produced as you want. And then when they're ready, you just schedule them, right? I never had time to do that. So when I was doing daily content, both 2 years ago and now, I was recording, editing, publishing most of the time in that one day. And when you're making videos like that with a family and a job or whatever, you just got to make a video about whatever's around. And so it's like, here's my action figure collection. Here's, here's some books I regret buying. I was organizing books anyway. Oh, here are my favorite Batman covers. And it's like that has some value, but again, it's unsustainable. And so yeah, doing 25 days of comics reminded me why I don't do videos every day. If I were going to do a video every day, this would have to be my full-time thing. Or I'd have to like take a leave of absence from work or something. Um, yeah, more power to those that are able to do it. But I remember now why the content back then was so shallow. And I didn't like that it felt shallow in 2023. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Like one of my big driving things with my videos, and again, like I would still say like my videos are low quality. I look, every time I look back at like a previous era of like bunk videos, I'm like, ooh, that is a bad video. Like that is not worth watching. But like when I'm making them, my mindset is like, if I wouldn't watch this, like why would I publish this? Why would I put that out there? And so whatever my sort of like quality is at that point, that's sort of like my driving principle. So like that whole idea going there. But so I want to kind of broaden that a little bit.
Okay.
So you're talking about sort of your mindset in 2023 versus your mindset back then. I want to take this a little bit to what you view as YouTube now versus YouTube then, because I remember very, very publicly on one of your live streams. I want to say it was one dedicated to where you were like, ask me about YouTube, like any of your questions, I'll go ahead and do this. And one of the questions you got was, what is more important to a successful YouTube channel? Quality content or quantity of content? And at that time, you, without skipping a beat, you said, if you are only looking to quote unquote succeed on YouTube, it's quantity. Doesn't mean you're going to make a good channel, but if you want to succeed at the YouTube game, it's going to be with quantity.
Yeah.
And you also got one of your angriest comments on that one being like, I can't believe you would go ahead and say this. I lost all respect for this channel. How dare you go ahead and see this? You seem like a nice guy, but I'm never going to watch again, which was like, I love that, like that the guy threw in there. You seem like a nice guy, but I'm still going to rage on that. And again, I want to make it clear. At no point did you ever say, as a creator, you should not make quality videos. You were saying like, if you want to play the YouTube game, this is what YouTube rewards.
Right.
So that was YouTube back then. And obviously YouTube, we've seen algorithm changes. We've seen them pushing shorts. We've seen, the rise of TikTok. We've seen tons and tons of things. When you look back at just sort of what you view YouTube as far as like how to play the YouTube game, how do you differentiate what you like when you're putting out a video and you say, this is going to be a good one. Like this is going to get the views, even if it's not necessarily one of your best videos. So this is not, the videos that you're putting that time into, milestones, uncredited creator that you're putting that time into, but you're like, I'm going to get some views on this now versus the stuff that you were putting out then. How do you see YouTube as a different creator space?
YouTube is, how do I say this? YouTube is more of a cesspool now than it was then. And it was already like, it's kind of wild. What I didn't realize at the time when I started the BJ Kicks channel is I was experiencing like this surge of growth that YouTube was giving to everyone because so many more people were watching YouTube. And so it was like I was a part of a trend of collectibles YouTubers. And it was like, oh, hey, statues and fishing poles and sourdough bread and whatever, right? Like outside of comics, YouTube was just everybody was watching, everybody was looking for hobbies to do at home and so on. And, I was rewarded because I was putting out content consistently at a time where people were hungry for it.
And bread. They were also hungry for bread.
They were hungry for the sourdough bread, apparently. But Yeah, and now we're in this sort of like attention economy, like fully. Like I feel like YouTube used to be like, oh, if I'm looking for something, I'll now you go on YouTube and you scroll mindlessly through the shorts in the same way that you would on TikTok. And so now it's even more like people are like just fighting to get attention. And if you want to play the attention game, you absolutely can. To me, I find it exhausting, and you can see when it's genuine and when it's not. Like we we have our YouTubers that we kind of poke fun at, right? Privately, I guess. But it's like you can tell when somebody's just kind of mailing it in or like doing something in hopes that it's going to get the views. Now, as far as what gets the views now versus then, it's still the same thing, right? It's sensationalism. So if I can be angry at something, if I can be wowed by something, or if I can be inspired by something in mass, then you're probably going to do well. So uh, I'm going to do a January haul video just because there's actually a theme, and the theme is just filling gaps in my collection. If I,
I'm already getting mad about that just as like my YouTube response to that, just so
yeah,
that I can get those views.
yeah,
Can you believe the gaps that Kicks is filling?
right. So it's like if I do
Oh,
this
make the face.
in the
Please make
thumbnail,
the face. You're holding that up.
if
Yes.
I do that, it's going to get
But no,
views.
you gotta
If I
keep
do it,
holding it.
if I do it like this, though,
Yeah, that surprise factor. Yeah.
nobody knows what it is. Oh my gosh, I wonder what he's holding.
So would by the can you flip that around for the spines one more time? Because
Oh,
I
this
saw IDW TMNT collection. Is that number one? That's
that
I
is
thought that was
volume
red.
15.
That's fit. Okay, because it was
That
red.
yes.
Uh, Under the Red Hood Deluxe, I think.
Uh-huh.
Rorschach by now they're Rorschach by Tom King. Did you pick that up from Ollie's?
I did.
Yep. Yep.
I did.
Now, were you able to find the absolute Wonder Woman by Cliff Chang and Brian Azzarello?
I saw a copy and
You
I
passed on it,
and I did pass because I thumbed through it. I
bro.
love Cliff Chang's art.
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna read Brian Azzarello? Like I don't read Wonder Woman as it is. Am I gonna read Brian Azzarello's like darker Wonder
That's
Woman?
a good call. Yeah, Azzarello's not a Kicks writer, but I mean, Cliff Chang's worth it for the art alone, man.
No, the art was beautiful.
That like
But
Cliff Chang drawing like Greek mythology, like in modern day, like it's worth it.
yeah.
And then you got Up in the Sky, which I I respect your take on it, but I fully
Mhm.
disagree
Oh,
with
really?
that. Like, yeah, like, and which I mean, again, I don't want to make this too much about like getting in
Mm.
on that, but it like it's a taste thing. Like, I think there is absolutely a place that should be celebrated for the anthology story today that does
Mhm.
not like that tells an isolated standalone story that can exist in its own space without directly leading on to another one.
Mhm.
Big fan of Ice Cream Man. Up in the Sky, I thought was this beautiful story where it was like, I'm going to tell 12 independent stories about why Superman is great that'll
Mhm.
ultimately lead to this other thing. But like, there's not a cohesive through line that you're going to see this point connect to this point.
That's funny because your criticism of it is the same as my criticism of it. I just think you scored it lower because of the same criticism.
No, I'm saying like I don't think it needs to have those through. I'm identifying an aspect
Oh,
of the
got you, got
book,
you. Okay,
but I'm saying that like I'm someone that doesn't need to see that through line. I can enjoy a
got it,
story in the isolate where I'm that's where I was saying like Ice Cream
got
Man.
it.
I love that story. I love that I can pick that up and know that in 22 pages I can get a complete story that may have a connection to something else and it may
Yeah,
not, and I can still like zip through those.
yeah. I think I don't know for whatever reason, and we don't have to do this, but
Yeah.
Up in the Sky just suffers from the format in a way that its counterpart, Batman Universe, doesn't, even though they were told in the same format, which is weird to me.
I don't want this to become an Up in the Sky, cast at this point.
Yeah.
But I want to say that, like, just as far as the format,
Mhm.
Batman Universe has more of that through line. So it's a bunch of
Mhm.
standalone stories,
Yeah.
but it's Batman's adventures through time, and
Yeah.
so you get to see a little bit more of that. So it's going to be a standalone story of him in this age.
Yeah.
And then that ends and whoa, I'm going through time. And you flip the page and it's him doing the same thing in a different era.
Time.
What character is he going to see there? So you
Mm.
get a little bit more of that through line. It's still an anthology, but it tricks you into thinking that it's not.
Right.
Whereas Up in the Sky is absolutely 12 individual stories that have a beginning. They don't have a middle because it's all the middle, and they have an end.
Yeah.
And I think if they can be successful with those stories, I like a format like that. And some people don't. Didn't kick with you. That's cool. I'm cool with that.
I gave it an 8 or something like that.
You gave it like a begrudging 8. You gave it an 8 because other people like it.
I gave it because I'm comparing it to Superman stories of its time. It's still at the top of the last 5 years, but it's not like it's a level below a lot of the top stuff of the last 20 to me. But I'm the new Superman fan in the group. Let's talk about it.
No, what? No. I'm telling you right now, get off of that imposter syndrome. Kix, you've been reading since 2019. You don't get to play imposter syndrome anymore. You are a comic fan. Your opinions are valid. I just call everybody out on their opinions, but you don't get to like hand wash it away. I'm that new fan. You've got valid opinions. Don't be mean to my friend Brandon.
Listen, that's just my way of saying, hey, you know, everybody's got their own opinion.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So,
so yeah, if I do that face and hold up the stack of books, that's gonna get views for at least 3 days, and then it'll slowly taper off, right? If I do a top 10 stories of the year, that'll get views for a couple weeks until people start caring about the next year. If I do, I don't know, top 10 Batman stories all time, that'll get a few views early on, and it'll have like a longer tail because people care about Batman. People aren't plugged into weekly comics, but they're always looking to figure out, like, hey, how do I get into this? And so top 10 Batman stories is a great place to find maybe your entry point. And so that'll just keep getting views, you know, in the same way that, I don't know, best digital comics apps is going to get views.
And what is the best digital comic app?
My favorite digital comics app is Hoopla.
Oh, that's fascinating. I've heard good things about that one.
I think if it weren't for loading errors, DC Infinite might be the best. Like, just as far as how the platform works, Omnibus, which is a newcomer, is a really good one. It's slick, it's quick. The pages are the images are like high quality in ways that they're not when you stream on Marvel Unlimited or DC Infinite or anywhere else, basically. But they don't have big two comics, and so they're not all in one solution. So they get a knock for that.
So it's called Omnibus?
It's called Omnibus. They are an iPad. They were iPad only. They now have a web reader. But they're supposed to be coming to iPhone and Android soon.
I was going to say I'm not on iOS, so I don't know that I can interact with that. But not having Big Two is not a big knock for me. Like that's not a barrier to entry. So I'm into that. I'll check that out. But anyway, first off, I want to thank you so much for your time. We're both husbands with families, with kids.
Yeah,
finding time to do this. We both have talked about how staying up late is something we don't do very well. I've been incorporating that miracle morning strategy you've been talking about more and more. Like staying up late is not something I can do. So while I could continue talking like this and I could yell at you for your taste in Superman stories for another 3 hours,
right?
I don't want to hold either of up to this. So I want to end this conversation by saying that this past year, we both lost a dear friend and maybe the best part of the online comics community, Curtis Fisher, Skip and Tosh, the thing that is right with comics. If you don't know Curtis, if you don't know Skip, we both put out videos. He was present everywhere, but Skip was someone who loved comics in a pure way.
Yeah.
in the kind of way that everybody should love comics. And he talked about them in the way that people should love comics. I have said many times before, and I will continue to say, I have never been happier to disagree with someone than I did with Skip. He was part of my favorite comic reading journeys that I did, including Four Kids Walk Into a Bank that we did together, which is still one of my all-time favorite reads. And so much of it was that experience of all three of us coming at it from, sort of our different reading experiences.
Right.
I still can't read that when I do my rereads without thinking of the main character is Spinelli from Recess after you calling it out. And I want to just ask you, what was your favorite Skip recommendation, and what do you want to take from Skip as a comic reader? Like, what do you want to take with him moving forward into 2024?
Okay. Let's turn around and look at the shelf. Let's see. Four Kids Walk Into a Bank is probably my favorite reading experience for the same reason, right? We all read it together. We all took different things away from it. The discussion was fun. And it's honestly up there. I probably like it most objectively out of all the stories I've read that Skip recommended. The other one that comes to mind is Reckless, just because he beat the drum for it so hard. Like Skip mailed me. I bought some Black Panther books off him. And when he sent them with this Reckless coaster that I didn't even realize was in the box. Like somehow it fell out when I was doing the unboxing. And then I found it on the floor and I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh yeah, you found it. Great. So like he was always trying to get me to try out Brubaker and Phillips. Brubaker and Phillips kind of, they teeter on the edge of my PG to PG-13 sensibilities, right? So Reckless I enjoyed, but Reckless is like not really a Kicks book. Four Kids Walk Into a Bank though, it's probably my favorite Skip recommendation. But Skip has given so many recommendations that I'm kind of just going through. Dang. So Do a Power Bomb was technically a Skip recommendation. That might be the top of the list. But
I mean, that was like half the dope fiends telling me about that.
They were all telling me that. And then the last one was Murder Falcon. Skip asked me to read Murder Falcon right before he got his diagnosis.
Yeah.
Which that one's tough. I still don't own it physically because I don't know if I want to. Like I do, but I don't. I've had the deluxe edition sitting in my eBay cart for like a minute.
Bro, this book,
it's a beautiful book. The story is amazing. It's that book.
It's like $30.
Yeah, it's less than that most places.
Mm-hmm.
But the tandem of Murder Falcon and Do a Power Bomb made me a Daniel Warren Johnson fan. Like I'll pretty much check out anything he does at this point, sight unseen. But yeah, there's just something emotional that's like I just need to get over it and buy the book. Something about it's just gonna make it feel super final. But anyway, all that to say, what I would take away from Skip and what I would try to keep going with his legacy is that excitement. Skip and I, we started the Comics Are Dope podcast together. As much as I tried to like keep it isolated and keep it my thing, just because I didn't have a way to like repay him for all the effort he was trying to put into it. But it very much only started because he was like, hey, let's do it. And he's lining up guests and all this stuff. Anyway, my favorite memories of Skip are us recording those episodes of that podcast. And I didn't even do most of them on video, or like at least not public facing, but I have all the videos and the excitement just oozes out of that man. Even in the last conversation we had on video where he's physically like or visibly ill. And it's like when he's on, but when there's a break, like it's heartbreaking to watch. And that episode took forever for me to edit, but the excitement, like he just could not help himself. And I think that is the key to understanding who he was and what he meant to the community. Like there were so many people after he passed that had stories of like, yeah, he helped me with my audio, or, he sent me this book or that book, or he turned me on to this creator. And it was just because he was excited about comics. And when I think about that, I can see why he was attracted to, the community that we had built. Because for as much as, I'm playing up personality on YouTube, I was excited too. And so that's the thing that we sort of had in common. And that's the thing that it's is easiest to let go of as you try to make the hobby more of like a pseudo business, right? So what I would want to keep alive is the excitement for not just the stories, but the people. He was so excited to talk about his favorite creators, to talk to some of his favorite creators, and to just talk to us like regular people just on the internet. Um, so yeah, as I'm starting the podcast up, it's with that in mind. Like I want to be excited about these conversations. If I'm making a video, I want to be excited about the video. Like before I turn the camera on, while I'm on camera, while I'm editing, I don't want to put out a video that I'm like, oh, here's that video for some views. Nah, like I want to be excited. Um, and that's what keeps you young, right? So that's the thing that I take away.
Nice. I think that's really well said. Um, yeah. I mean, I talked before about how Four Kids Walk into a Bank is still one of my favorite, reading experiences ever. That's a book that had sat on my shelf for literally years. I'd bought it. I'd heard it was great. And I mean, like so many books, you can see off through there. They're books that I'm super excited to get to, and it never ends up happening. And when he had that push and he had that reason to, it was. I love that, man, and just like each of us going at it in a different way, and like, Skip always used to tease me that it's my ideal comic would be no action and nothing but 9-page grids of just characters looking at each other and slowly sipping coffee in a coffee shop. Because I like my books on the talkier side, and right. And he's someone that like that action balance a little bit more, and in that book, I counted, and there was multiple pages where it wasn't a 9x9 grid. No, it was like there were 24 panels on the page, and I just had to give it back to him on that. But there was something there that we all could love, and I'll never forget that, man. But yeah, so in the last book we ever read together, 20th Century Men, was my book of the year last year. Wouldn't be me with all.
You go grab that book. I'll keep them busy.
I had to pick up some original art from it, and we're talking about Brubaker and Phillips. When I bought my criminal page, which is on the other side. Skip was the one that I was bouncing ideas off of. I was like, hey, I got, these are the ones that are here. We're talking about criminal stories. And honestly, like more than the page itself, it was just like going through those with him, talking about the emotional impact, what each of them was. And when I bought these, unfortunately, by the time I had a chance to do so, he was no longer with us. And every time I look at them now, I just think of the last book we got to read together. And that's a special book. But what I would just say is sort of, for me going forward, is going back to that idea of there's no one I'd rather disagree with. Part of it is, I think, I play a little bit of a character where, I come off like a little bit elitist, kind of like we were doing with the Superman Up in the Sky. Like I want people to love the comics that they do, but like I'm gonna throw like some jabs in there. So like you didn't love the book I did, and just like, oh, why not? Like do that. But ultimately, I want people to love comics, and I don't want us all to love the same comics. I want there to be comics out there for everybody, and I love to be able to disagree with people, but respectfully disagree. And I think way too much of sort of discourse now is people disagreeing and not listening to the other people, but just waiting for your chance to say why the other person is wrong. And for me, I will always think back to Human Target #5. Human Target was a book written by Tom King, one of my favorite writers, one of his least favorite writers. And he stuck with me through there. I love that issue. It was a very talky issue. And it featured one of his favorite characters, the Martian Manhunter. And he really felt that Tom King did Martian Manhunter dirty. And he kind of laid out what he, how he felt. And I got that. And I kind of took that in and I let him know, like, I get that. I see it differently than you. And we kind of went back and forth, not saying why the other person was wrong, but sharing our experiences, seeing how that person like did it, kind of informing, well, that thing that you saw this way, I saw it here. And at the end of our conversation, I have said this many times, and I will continue to say it because I think it is the most beautiful sentiment in all of comics when you actually, not just comics, but in disagreement. Skip told me after we had explained, our different viewpoints and we were, wrapping up, I wish I could read this the same way you did. And he did not say that in a hand waving, just like, wish I could, see it the same way you did, but I have to read it as an adult. But literally just, I wish I got that same joy that you are clearly expressing in this thing from me. And I think that is just such a beautiful sentiment to disagree with.
Yeah.
Even if something is not your cup of tea, understanding that there are people who love it. And instead of trying to bring them down and say, you're wrong for liking this thing, I wish I could love this thing like you love that thing. I think that is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I want to keep that first and foremost in my thought. And even when I'm just kind of joking around, not try and bring people down because they didn't like the books I liked, but instead try and bring everybody up because comics are dope and we should all be there to read them.
For sure.
But with that, Kix, you have given me quite a bit of time. I think we've all gotten a pretty good look behind the YouTube curtain. I think we're all coming out of this a little bit wiser, a little bit more emotionally mature, and I think kind of more secure people. And so I want to thank you for your time coming on here. Tell the people where they can find you, make the plugs, tell them the codes to use.
So before I do any of that, right, just parting advice, because listen, us YouTubers, we gotta stick together. We're a family, right?
I'm not a YouTuber. I am 100. I'm a guy that makes a few videos. I am not a YouTuber.
You've got like 20 videos out. You're at least, right, you're a YouTuber. So make videos you want to see. Stop looking at your analytics. And then do it again. That's really it. That's it for YouTube. If you're trying to make it a career, maybe I don't have advice for you because YouTube's not my career. I still work at Big Mega Ultra Pharma Care, right? There are ways to make YouTube a profession, but I mean, we're seeing it across the board. I don't know if you've been seeing all this stuff in your algorithm. Maybe it's just
all the people quitting.
And it's like this loop, like, cause it's people quitting and then people talking about people quitting. That's all I keep seeing on YouTube. But it's happening that way for a reason. Like the way YouTube works is antithetical to like being a stable person mentally. So don't let it run your brain. Make what you want to see. Enjoy the people who enjoy your content. Hang out with people. Go outside, touch grass. Have a good day. That's my parting advice for anyone trying to get into this. Have fun doing it or don't do it. But yeah,
And touch grass.
And touch grass. So, where do you can find me? I'm BJ Kicks. I am at BJ Kicks on all the platforms worth mentioning. Uh, the platform formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, it's BJ Kicks. Um, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/at comics are dope. We just recently started up the Comics Are Dope podcast again, this time with a focus on interviews. So I've got conversations with creators coming out every Thursday, and you can actually find the audio on YouTube. Eventually, some of those videos are going to be behind a paywall, just because there's no way to get them out with the other content. But the podcast will be available. So check out the Comics Are Dope podcast on all podcast platforms. And other than that, subscribe and stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you, Kix. Thanks you for being a great steward of the medium. Again, you've been doing this for 3 years. Regardless of what you think of yourself, you are a comics reader. And I appreciate you just coming on, sharing yourself, sharing your insight as we all kind of move forward with this. But with that, I've been BunkmastaB. You all have been amazing. And I'll catch you next time. See ya.
See ya.